Hey guys, how's it going? We are finally outside again, and I am so happy to be out here. We're gonna be getting some bulbs planted today. It's gonna be a good day. This is the first of many, many bulbs that need to get planted that are sitting in my refrigerator currently. And I know some of you are probably thinking, Robbie, it's January basically. What are you doing? Just getting your bulbs planted. Look, my bulbs came late, so I am in a warmer zone, so they have to go in the refrigerator. Bulbs need a chill period. Hyacinth, tulips, squill, all of these bulbs, pretty much everything besides daffodils and alliums need a chill period, meaning that they need to be under a certain temperature. Don't remember it off the top of my head, but I have to put them in the refrigerator for 8 to 12 weeks. That is a long time in the refrigerator, and mine showed up because there was a strike when the bulbs were coming in on a port, and so my bulbs showed up about 3 weeks late. So that put me about 3 weeks behind, which is kind of a bummer, but it's nobody's fault and it's totally fine. So now we're getting them planted, and this is kind of the latest I should really be getting them planted because I'm already seeing things pop up in my garden. So today we're going to be planting just one bag because it's still raining, it's still wet, and it's still cold out, and I just wanted to get a little something done in the garden. So we're gonna start with Delta Blue Hyacinth, and I'm excited. These bulbs are huge. I've never grown hyacinth, at least not like this. So I am excited about this. The hyacinth bulbs that I have grown have been teeny tiny. This is a Delta Blue Hyacinth, and it's a purple, blue, and white. They bloom early, and they'll get about 10 inches tall and then a couple inches wide, and we need to plant these 5 inches deep. Look how big these bulbs are. They're huge. They're like tulip bulbs. So I'm very excited about it. Let me show you guys, if you guys remember, literally a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago at this point, maybe 3, I planted some daffodil bulbs, and they're already coming up. I've got bulbs coming up everywhere. I've even started to see some tulip bulbs from last year come up, which they usually will come up for me, but they won't actually bloom, or if they do bloom, the blooms are teeny tiny because they didn't get enough chill time. So I don't worry about it. Also, that is not my rooster. That's my next door neighbor's rooster. So over here by the espalier bed, I transplanted this rose right here. And right here, I planted some daffodils. And look, they're already coming up. We're already getting warmer, so they are ready to be into the ground, and bulbs need to get planted. So we gotta get these guys planted, and I'm very excited about it. So I'm gonna plant these guys in full sun. My initial plan was that we were gonna have this area that looks tore up, not tore up anymore, and we were going to have the irrigation in, but that just wasn't the case. It was really hot, and then it was really cold and really wet. We went from hot to cold. There wasn't a transition period. It just was instant cold and instant rain, and so that kind of put us behind because we can't dig holes when it's pouring down rain. We need to do all the irrigation and everything in this area. And so it's been kind of an issue for us, but it is what it is. Let me go grab the auger and we will get these planted. My plan was to get them planted in this drift that I wanted to do in this area. This was all gonna be a raised bed right here. And it just didn't happen yet. So we're hoping that the rain finishes soon so we can get working on that, but it's supposed to rain in about an hour. So I've got about an hour to get this done, and one more project. I want to clean up some morning glories. So that is the plan for the day. So all that we need for this project is a drill. And this isn't even a necessity. You could just use a shovel. I'm using a drill with a auger. So I've got the small power planter auger on here. This is the Ryobi 1 HP. This is a brushless one. And I use this one when I'm using augers. If I'm using a small auger like this, sometimes I'm using a much larger auger when I'm planting plants, and I'll pull out the DeWalt one. But when I'm just doing bulbs and small things like this, I use this one, and I like this one because it does have a handle to it also. So auger, drill, our bulbs, obviously, and then I'm using a little bit of plant tone. So normally I just take a bucket like this and I walk around with a bucket and I keep my bulbs like this, and this just makes it easy for me to be able to walk around. And then I'll dig all my holes, pop these, pull this out, and then I will just go in with about that much per hole. So it's a very small little handful. of fertilizer to go into there. And really you can use any fertilizer, but it is pretty important to fertilize your bulbs because they have all of the energy that they do need technically to be able to get up and give you a bloom. But if you give them a little feed, it's going to really help them take off and give you a better, stronger show. So I always try to fertilize my bulbs if I can. If I have fertilizer with me, I had to go back to the shed and grab that. So then I grabbed fertilizer. There's been, on occasion, times when I don't, and it's really not the end of the world, but it is best practice. Well, getting bulbs planted is one of the least exciting things to do in the garden, I think. Well, I kind of take that back. It's exciting because of what it's going to do, but you get all of this work and there's zero instant impact. It is a waiting game for sure, and that is what makes it the least exciting thing to do in the garden. I would rather pull weeds because at least that is instant impact. So my plan for this coming year is consistency around the garden. I want to have things kind of repeat, and I also want to do bigger drifts of things. So in past years, I have always done, well, I want all of the plants, and I just want, so I'm only gonna get one of these plants. And that's really not like the best way to go about it, I think. I want cottagey with touches of formality, and I think that I need to tie in everywhere on my property because it's feeling very disconnected and I want it to feel more cohesive. So I went ahead and I planted the hyacinth bulbs in 3 different spots. So I'm very excited to see them this springtime. So I will turn the camera on and show you guys kind of where I planted them really quickly. And then we're going to do a little cleanup. I got to clean up this morning glory. It's got to go. It's so ugly to look at. And then I also wanted to cut back that rose right there. That is the Queen of Sweden rose, and I want it cut back. It needs to get cut back. I'm slowly working on all of my roses, so let me show you guys what I did. So this section right here, I actually had a Super Tunia Vista Silverberry that I've wintered over for, I mean, this would have been, next year would have been the 3rd year that I had it on my property. And it didn't perform as well this year. It was kind of an experiment to see how it would perform, 2 years in. And I didn't cut it back last year, so I think it was just like super exhausted. So pulled it, took it out. It actually is way better. I'm very, very happy that that thing is gone now. I planted 8 of them right here. I had dug way too many holes, and so I had to fill in a couple of the holes. So I've got 8 of them just kind of like in a little drift right here, which is really nice because that'll tie into the other side of the property. So I wanted to make sure I did some on this side and some on the other side. And then over on this side, let's go over here. I planted 4 of them just in this little area. Just to have like some pop of spring color right there. I thought it would be pretty. And then, I don't know, it's kind of like nice that it's next to the aviary. Ignore all the extension cords. We're trying to keep the birds warm because we were down to 4 birds, which is absolutely heartbreaking. We had, I think, like 18 or something like that. Yeah, can't even talk about it. We had a rat come in, if you missed that whole fiasco. Anyways, I got a couple of them planted there. That'll be really nice. And then I planted the rest of them right over here, which is actually where I first started planting them. So I showed you guys in backwards order. But I did like a little drift like this. So it kind of like comes around this salvia that's right there. So I got salvia, I will have the hyacinth, and then I have some giant alliums tucked in right there, which will be some really, really cool color. I'm very excited about those alliums, and I'm hoping to add more and more alliums every single year to the property. And then so this way I've got space to like tuck things all around this area. Now we're gonna move on to this rose though. So this is a Queen of Sweden rose. It's only supposed to be about this tall, and clearly it is not only this tall. It's a beautiful, beautiful rose. I like it because the flowers, they face upwards. So it's supposed to be one that you kind of keep near a walkway because you're supposed to be able to walk past it, and it's only supposed to get about this tall, and all of the blooms face upwards, so they stare at you. Not really the best when the blooms are facing upwards and it's this high or this high or this high. So, we're gonna hack it back, and you can see last year I actually cut it back to about here, and so in 1 year it did all of this. Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. So we're gonna come in and we're just gonna take some pruners. I'm gonna take my Foco 5s. I love these things. I think I'm gonna order another pair of them, and we're just gonna come in, and you can see right here, see how there's a bud right here? That means there's gonna be a branch that comes in and it goes that way. I don't really want it to bud out that way, but there is another bud, so I'm gonna cut right above that bud there so the branch goes outwards, because wherever there's a bud is where the branch comes. So we'll just come in and I'll cut it like that, and then there'll be a new branch that comes outward. So that's all I kind of do, is just kind of follow along anywhere that I want a branch to come, and I just cut right above those nodes. And once you start doing it more often, you get a pretty quick sense of where all of the buds are at. So I just kind of, I don't know, I'm pretty quick at it now just because I've been cutting off of my roses for quite a few years. So I'm just gonna hack this down, take off. Usually you want to take off about 2/3 of the rose, maybe half. I'm obviously gonna be taking off way more than that. This one cane back here, this one that has my tallest branch right here, actually is a brand new whole entire cane from this year. So you can see how it's like a silvery blue instead of a like deeper green. So this is last year's growth. This is current year's growth. So it's just kind of crazy. So that was one cane from 1 year, which it's nice because it is a very thick cane, but it does have to go. So I'm gonna come in, hack this back, and then this rose will be one of the roses that is done and ready for next year. Also, every time that I do share these Focos, I do get questions about them. So these are the Foco 5s. I got them because they're like the most affordable ones. They don't have like finger grooves, so they are pretty like straight across. I don't mind them at all. I mean, you can see they fit in my hand. I am left-handed. I cut with my left hand and my right hand, and they work perfectly for both hands. I don't have an issue with it. I know that there are left-handed pruners out there. It doesn't bother me at all. And this one, I've never changed the blade on it or the spring on it. And I think I've had these for 3 years, maybe 4 years. These were kind of a present when we first bought this place to myself. I was like, I'm gonna get some Velcros. And then I saw how they were like $100 for a pair of pruners. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. So I bought the budget Velcros, and I've actually been very, very pleased with them. And I do like that they have a red handle because I lose them less in the garden. All right, so that is done. That's what it looks like. Cut it back pretty hard. And you can see it's there. It was up here. It is no longer up there. And what that's gonna do is really just kind of help these canes thicken up this next year. I usually leave anywhere from 4 to like 6, 7 canes. There are 6 canes on there right now. So you can see there's the back 3 right there. There's one here, one there, and one down there. And this is part of this one right here. So this has 6 canes. That's kind of an ideal number. That's a really good number. And when you're cutting, you want to make sure that you're cutting so that a bud shoots out. You don't want to cut it so a bud starts shooting in. If you get them all shooting in, it's going to just like create disease and pests and other issues. And so I always try to make sure that where I'm cutting, the rose is shooting out. And so I like this rose also because it has very few thorns on it. You can see like there's a thorn here, and if I rub my finger up, there's a thorn there. So that's kind of a long gap in between thorns right there. Let's move on to cutting back those morning glories now. All right, we are back over here on whatever this side of the bed is called. The gazebo bed, I don't know. And it's time to just pull these morning glories. They are crispy. They are donezo for the year. So it's time to just come in and pull all of this off without trying to drop too many of the seed heads. I don't really want these coming up absolutely everywhere as I throw those seeds on the ground. I don't really want them coming up everywhere. I won't be mad if a couple of them come up. It'll be really easy. Usually every year that I plant morning glories, I get some of them popping up. And then I also get people asking why I plant them. They're so invasive. There's a difference between morning glories and bindweed. This is morning glory. Yes, I know it can grow and it can take over and it can be a huge pain in the butt and it can grow up and choke plants out, but you can get on top of it. You just have to pull everything. Point in case, we grew morning glory back there for 2 years on a arbor trellis, and this year I didn't deal with a single morning glory plant coming up. Well, I dealt with them coming up. I weeded them, and then they were gone, and I won't have to deal with them. I'll probably deal with maybe a few more coming up next year, just because some seeds will live over, a couple years in the garden. But as long as you pull the weeds and you pull them, they're fine. So I am not worried about this one dropping too many seeds and me having to pull them. I will have to pull them next year when they come up out of the ground. Not worried about it. It is something that you can get on top of with morning glory. Just know it is a plant that grows, and it grows very easily, and they do spread and they do take over. Invasive. Now, bindweed grows under the ground by rhizomes and is extremely difficult to take care of and get rid of. This is not that bindweed. So you can grow morning glories, but you need to be responsible and you need to understand that, yes, they're going to grow, they're going to drop seed, and seeds are going to come up. Just like anything else that drops seeds and seeds come up, butterfly bush, that's a terrible example because butterfly bushes are invasive in other areas. But anything that drops seed and it comes up, you need to just take care of. Okay, we have a privet tree, and I deal with privet seedlings coming up everywhere. There's a seedling there, there's seedlings there, there's seedlings there, there's a whole bunch of them right there. And it's just something that I know that I have to come in and I gotta pull the privet seedlings out and just deal with that mess. So, point in case, invasive, I don't know, probably not. No. Will it spread and take over? Yes, absolutely. So we're gonna pull it and get rid of it with the expectation that I'm still going to have to pull some in the springtime. I don't know, it's a hot topic. You either like morning glories or you don't. Do what you want in your garden. I may have possibly got a hold of the pruners and blacked out. That ever happened to you? You just like have the pruners in your hand and you move on to one thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Because that happens to me pretty often. Well, I did more than the morning glory. Let me show you guys what I just did, because that was dramatic. So, morning glory arch thing was like here. I just kind of moved it back a little bit. I thought that would be a little bit of a better space for it. And then when I moved it back, I have some coneflower that are right down there. And I was like, oh, well, I might as well just prune those while I'm here. So I cut them back. And then I had some salvia right here. And I was like, oh, well, I might as well just prune those and cut those back and we'll call it good. And I did a little more than I said I was going to do. And then as I was putting everything over here in this pile, I realized, wait, the cat's pajama nepeta right here is starting to push a whole bunch of new growth. And if I cut it too late, I might cut off some of that new growth and stunt it for a while. So maybe I should just cut this back right now. So I cut those back, and then I saw the bulbs were coming up that I planted there. And so I was like, well, yeah, no, this is perfect timing. And then I saw the columbine was all starting to come up, and I was like, oh my gosh, spring is basically happening here. And then I thought over here, as I was getting ready to say goodbye and show you guys what I had done, because I even thought, that's dramatic, I did too much. I saw right here, this is the Beyond Pinked Bluebeard. And I was like, well, I really do need to cut that back, especially before spring. And then I saw, oh my gosh, this thing has a ton of new growth. I was like, yeah, no, I need to get that cut back right now. So I cut it back. And then right next to it was a rose. And I was like, well, since I'm already here, I might as well cut this rose back. And then my butt got stabbed by the hydrangea that's back there. And so I thought, oh, well, I might as well just cut back this hydrangea since I'm already right here. And then I realized that some of the Dusty Miller that's here was just kind of growing a little bit too much in here, so I pruned it back. And then as I was standing up, a branch from the butterfly bush got caught in my ear, and I was like, oh, well, I should also probably cut that back too. So then I cut that back. Yeah, wow, that's something. So, I'm not diagnosed with anything, but ADHD is definitely on the table. So it looks good. I'm very happy. It's all things that I needed to get done that I actually had not been motivated to do. And I knew that I had to get them done. I just was like zero motivation. I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm not feeling it. It's not something that I want to do. And then I just got these guys in my hand and I decided, yeah, here we go. No stopping me now. So now I have 2 giant piles that my husband is so sweet and he will clean up for me. I just have to hack everything down and he takes care of it all. So I'm very, very lucky by that. So I think that's it for the video now. Got slightly distracted. And so that's a really good day in the garden. I got a whole bunch of stuff cleaned up that I needed to get cleaned up. And I got bulbs planted. And then even more cleaned up that I needed to get cleaned up. So very, very happy with it. Cutting back the rows, super easy, very straightforward. Cut where you want a node to come up. Butterfly bush, hack it back by about 1/3. And the hydrangea, I'm not like an expert in hydrangeas. Cut back the scrawny branches, I think is the rule of thumb there. And then the Beyond Pink Bluebeard, I usually hack it back down to like maybe a couple little liters. Most of the time it comes fresh from the ground, but it's one of my favorite plants. The Beyond Pink Bluebeard, stunning plant to add in the garden. And I think that is going to be it, my friends. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the day in the garden with me. It was unplanned, but rather exciting. So thank you guys for visiting our garden, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.